My next guest knows Ken Feinberg, knows how he works, knows him well, and he is in a unique vantage point. Charles Wolfe's wife was a victim of the 9/11 attacks. Mr. Feinberg in charge of the Victims' Compensation Fund. Charles was a critic at the start, but then did a complete 180, and now thinks very highly of the man many say is now a czar. Very good to have you, Charles.
Thank you.
You were critical in the beginning of how he was handling the 9/11 Compensation Fund. What was your biggest beef at the time?
Well, there was two sides of the criticism. One side was what Congress passed, and the other side is the way he was operating. So I could only talk to him about the way he was operating, the regulatory side of it.
And what was he doing on the regulatory side?
Well, there were several things he was doing. Number one, he attached a very, very low figure to the pain and suffering component. I think it was a figure that was like 27 years old at the time. It was the only thing he said he could go back to for precedent, and it was totally unrealistic. That was one thing. Thinking back now, there was a few other things, how he was handling the injured people. He said you had to have gone to a hospital within 24 hours, but people were staying away from the hospitals because they were saving the resources for the people that they thought were going to come out of the debris.
In other words, he did change.
Yeah, he changed. He changed. I remember the day. It was.
But your wife was an executive assistant.
Right.
So by his new math, where at first people thought that the $7 billion kitty, whatever they were calling, was going to be divided fairly equally.
There was no kitty.
I realize. I'm sorry.
No, it was an open-ended thing.
But it was. But he then allocated. All right. If your husband was a young guy and a broker, he would be paid more than if your husband was a fireman and he was a lot older, right?
Exactly, because that's where the law was written. The law was written to mimic the settlement phase of a wrongful death lawsuit.
So you didn't get these off-the-chart payouts as a result. So even allowing for that, you're okay?
Me, I'm fine. Okay. I'm fine.
So let me switch to what's going on now, Charles. He is taking over a job for which the administration says he is not setting caps. I tried to talk to the congressman who was on before. I know you and I were chatting as that was happening. I had no idea what they're looking for. Ranges, she doesn't know. Caps could be down the road. Anything open-ended. What? If we're not going to have caps, if we're not going to set any of this stuff, why do we have him?
Well, I can only read into it, and I do know, Ken, we've had a number of interactions, just a couple since the fund ended. But I will say this, I think he's a pretty unique individual, and which is why they keep going back to him. He handled the Agent Orange. That's the defoliant they used during the Vietnam War. He handled the Dalkin Shield, which is that contraceptive device that wounded a lot of women. He's handled a lot of very controversial stuff. But he's able to pull people together.
I grant it. He has that reputation, among many who've said it. But what is he going to do? If you're not setting caps, which was presumably what he was going to do, set pay, is he setting pay ranges, or is he setting bonus ranges? The Congresswoman seemed to imply that that's what he has charged.
The implication of the word capped, at least to my mind, would mean that, okay, you can go this high, but you can't go any higher. All right? So what that says is that they're allowing him to use his discretion. And I think that's a very, very important thing. Because here we go. We have three things to do. We want operationally, we want things to work right. Number two, we need to satisfy members of Congress, okay, who are steaming mad.
But Congress doesn't even know what's going on.
But they're still mad.
Yeah, but
okay,
but they're
because
stupid.
these are
they're stupid. I'll tell you why they're stupid. Because they can't distinguish between compensation, pay, benefits. They say, I guess it's all the same. And now along comes this guy, wonderful guy he might be, czar, master, whatever we're calling him. And the administration tell him, look, just so you know, Ken, you can't set salary caps. You can look at bonuses and decide for yourself what you think is too much. The Congresswoman seemed to think, talking to me, that can't be more than a set percentage of the salary. When I reminded her that on Wall Street, bonuses often dwarf the salary, it seemed like a newsflash to her. So, I'm just wondering who's zooming whom.
Well, here's the thing. Congressmen, senators, good public servants, they're not into the details. Okay? And
I don't need you to be into the details. I do need you to be into, I don't know, basics.
I agree. But we're talking about reality here, not what we'd like to have happen.
So this is a czar with a charge that isn't defined, and he's going to define it for them?
That's what he had to do with the Victim Compensation Fund. He had to make it up as he went along.
Well, what do you think he's going to make up? Do you think Mug's scheme, though, would be, I wish we had more time, but that here's what I think a typical bonus should be?
Oh, I think he's going to take a look at the situation.
So what if you improve 5% off a crappy year? Do you deserve a bonus?
I'm not the one that's going to be answering that.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. He is going to set those parameters, right?
And he's
accountable only to the president, not to Congress.
Right.
That's a slippery slope. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, okay. And at the same time, here's the way I look at it. All right. You got a company like Citibank, okay, who is not allowed to pay back their TARP funds.
Right.
All right. Yet at the same time, are you going to put an automatic flattening on their top salary, which would make it so that they couldn't be competitive in hiring top-notch people to get itself out of trouble?
Right.
Okay. You need good skill. You need good skills. You got two things on the one hand. You had public companies who drained.
But he must have numbers in the back of his head, right? I don't think anyone should get paid $100 million, right?
You know something, knowing Ken, I would say not.
Really?
I would say not. I would say that if something comes out outlandish, okay, that he's going to say
You'll know what outlandish is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, you don't need a czar to do that.
But you do need a czar to placate Congress.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though Congress is stupid.
I think a man like Feinberg, who has respect from both sides of the aisle, will placate Congress. I saw Congress people falling all over themselves to congratulate him on the success of the Victim Compensation Fund.
All right. Congress just reminds me of Lord Farquhar or something in Shrek. That's all it is. Totally clueless. Got off the horse just a little bit.
Do they mimic the public then?
No.
Okay.
Public's brilliant.
Okay.
They just elect fools. All right, Charles, thank you very, very much.